They never told you this part of history. While society taught you to memorize dates and chase diplomas, the real power was hidden tucked away in scrolls, passed down in secret circles, and spoken in riddles that only the curious would ever decode. And at the core of it all stood a mysterious figure whose teachings still shape reality to this day, Hermes Trismegistus. This isn't mythology, it's mechanics. His words weren't meant to entertain. They were designed to transform. Concepts like as above, so below, or the idea that your thoughts shape your world weren't modern discoveries. They're echoes from a deeper, older truth, one that connects directly with the law of attraction and the hidden structure of everything around you. If life ever felt like a puzzle missing its most important pieces, this is where they've been. Now here's the catch. This isn't passive information. These ancient codes are meant to be used, and as you uncover them one by one, something will click. That feeling of being stuck, manipulated, or limited, it starts to vanish. And right there, right when the knowledge begins to shift your perspective, I want you to hit that subscribe button and stay connected. Because this channel is built to take you deeper, every week, into the kind of wisdom no one else is teaching out loud. So take a breath, because what you're about to learn isn't just spiritual, it's strategic. These are the ancient laws of occultism, passed through time not to control you, but to set you free. Most people have no idea how much of their modern world is shaped by something they've never heard of. Hermeticism isn't just some dusty, mystical theory locked in the past. It's the backbone behind ideas that built Western civilization. From the Renaissance to quantum physics, the fingerprints of Hermes Trismegistus are everywhere, woven into the fabric of our collective knowledge. It's wild to realize that while people talk about science and reason, the seeds were often planted by mystics who believed in the law of attraction long before the term ever existed. Back in the Middle Ages, when the world was steeped in dogma and fear, Hermetic texts whispered truths too radical for their time. They spoke of personal power, inner transformation, and unseen forces. Ideas now echoed in psychology, philosophy, and even cutting-edge tech. The same occultism once feared by empires became a silent mentor for minds like Isaac Newton and Da Vinci. You see, true wisdom doesn't shout, it echoes through the ages, changing form but never its core. And Hermeticism quietly has always been there. Understanding this influence isn't just a history lesson, it's a compass. Because once you realize how deep this hidden stream runs, you stop floating aimlessly. You start to see connections others miss. The books you read, the goals you set, even the conversations you overhear start making more sense. It's like learning a secret language of the universe. And believe me, it only gets deeper when we meet the mysterious figure behind it all. Was this man, or perhaps this myth called Hermes Trismegistus? To some, he was a blend of the Egyptian god Thoth and the Greek god Hermes. To others, a sage so enlightened that he earned the title 3 times great master of wisdom, power, and speech. What matters is not just who he was, but what he left behind. And the crown jewel of his teachings is the Emerald Tablet, a text so brief you could memorize it, yet so profound it has puzzled scholars and inspired sages for centuries. The tablet's most iconic phrase, as above, so below, has become the heartbeat of occultism and spiritual science alike. It teaches that everything in the universe is mirrored. What happens on a grand cosmic scale is reflected in the tiniest corners of our lives. Your inner chaos. It shows up in your relationships, your mental clarity. It can ripple into opportunities that seem out of nowhere. That's the law of attraction in action, ancient style. When Isaac Newton, a man of science, translated the Emerald Tablet, it wasn't just out of curiosity. He understood that true mastery of reality demands respect for the invisible forces at play. Newton saw no contradiction between gravity and the divine. He knew the two were married. That tells you something. Even the fathers of modern science secretly bowed to Hermetic wisdom. Take a look at your life through this lens. Is your above in sync with your below? Are your intentions aligned with your actions? Most people chase results without cleaning up their inner space, and then wonder why things don't click. But Hermes was clear: start from within, and the outer will mirror back. Want better health? Begin with your beliefs. Craving financial freedom? First examine your emotional relationship with abundance. What's fascinating is how the Emerald Tablet never tells you what to do. It nudges you to see. It's a mirror, not a map. And in a world that loves giving you to-do lists, Sometimes, what you need is a philosophy that empowers you to figure it out yourself. That's what makes Hermeticism so timeless. It never controls, it reveals. And if you're open to it, the next part will unveil the most powerful truth of all, the unity behind everything you've ever known. Let's imagine for a second that nothing is truly separate, not your body and your mind, not the sky and the soil, not your struggles and your successes. That's the cornerstone of Hermetic thinking. Everything is connected. Hermes Trismegistus didn't just drop poetic metaphors, he pointed to a truth so powerful, modern science is still catching up. Whether you're talking about atoms or galaxies, emotions or bank accounts, it's all part of the same intricate web. That's why Hermeticism isn't just spiritual, it's deeply practical. Think about the phrase, as above, so below again. If your spirit is cluttered with doubt, your physical world often reflects that mess. But if you align your energy, your intentions, your focus, your values, you start to notice synchronicities that are hard to ignore. That's not magic. That's the law of attraction in its rawest form, flowing directly from the Hermetic tradition. When you shift your internal state, the external world can't help but respond. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to fix the dense without ever touching the subtle. They change jobs but ignore their toxic mindset. They hop relationships but never confront their patterns. True mastery begins when you can separate the noise from the signal, the dense from the subtle. That's when you stop reacting and start shaping your own story. This is pure occultism, turning inward to realign what's outward. One practical example, meditation, not to calm down, but to observe yourself. 10 minutes a day, no apps, no goals, just stillness. In that silence, you start to notice the invisible threads that link your emotions, your choices, and your outcomes. It's not flashy, but it's real. And over time, it becomes your secret weapon. Another underrated method, journaling, but not just writing what happened. Ask deeper questions. What am I avoiding? Where am I lying to myself? When you trace your thoughts back to their source, you begin to see the patterns, and patterns are everything in Hermetic thought. Because once you see the pattern, you can break it. And once you break it, you're free to build something better. That's when unity stops being an idea and starts becoming your experience. It's the moment you stop fighting with life and start flowing with it. And just when you think you're getting the hang of it, the next teaching shows up to shake your foundation in the best way possible. The story of the Emerald Tablet isn't some mystical myth that floated down from the clouds. It has a real, traceable path through history. Its earliest known versions emerged not in Greece or Egypt, but in Arabic manuscripts between the 2nd and 8th centuries. That means the roots of Hermeticism passed through the intellectual centers of the Islamic Golden Age, where science, medicine, and occultism were not seen as opposites, but allies. Yes, while Europe was still stumbling through the Dark Ages, the East was decoding the cosmos. It was Hugo de Santilia, 12th century scholar and astrologer, who translated the Emerald Tablet into Latin. This moment changed everything. With one translation, Hermetic wisdom flowed into the veins of Europe's intellectual rebirth. Alchemists now had a spiritual compass, not just formulas. The phrase "as above, so below" wasn't just poetic anymore, it became the cornerstone of mystical science. And just like that, Hermes Trismegistus slipped into the bloodstream of Western thought. Think about the irony. The very text that helped shape European alchemy and Renaissance thinking came through Arabic scholars preserving ancient Egyptian and Greek ideas. That's the unity of all things in action again. Cultures, languages, centuries are put together by one cryptic tablet. It's no wonder modern seekers still turn to this tiny document. Its journey alone is a lesson in law of attraction. The right ideas always find their way into the right hands. If you're looking for modern parallels, think of how ancient Stoicism was rediscovered by CEOs and life coaches centuries later, or how texts like Think and Grow Rich echo Hermetic teachings disguised in 20th century business lingo. The power never left, it just changed costume. And now, that current is circling back to you. But don't get too comfortable, because what comes next isn't just historical, it's the actual blueprint of Hermetic thought. Here's where things get real. Up to this point, we've been building the foundation. Now, we step into the engine room of Hermeticism, the 7 Hermetic principles. These aren't abstract theories to be admired, they're tools, practical, universal, and brutally honest. Think of them as the spiritual laws that quietly govern everything from your relationships to your bank account. And once you learn how to work with them, life stops being random and starts making sense. This is where the true art of occultism begins to unfold. Imagine playing a game without knowing the rules. That's how most people live. They hustle, push, stress, then blame luck when things fall apart. But the 7 Hermetic principles are like a cheat code written into the universe itself. They explain why your thoughts shape your world, why opposites attract, why timing matters, and why nothing ever really happens by accident. It's all there. And once you see the pattern, you'll never be able to unsee it again. The first principle is mentalism, and we'll get into that in a moment. But here's the thing. These principles are not just spiritual fluff. They're structural. Architects of ancient temples used them. So did philosophers, alchemists, even political strategists. You might not know it, but every time you visualize a goal, speak with intention, or feel like the universe is sending you signs, you're already tapping into the law of attraction guided by these principles. You're just doing it unconsciously. So here's a challenge. As we explore each of these principles, ask yourself, where is this already showing up in my life? Because once you recognize them, you can start using them on purpose. That's when real transformation begins. That's when you stop forcing outcomes and start flowing with laws that have existed since time began. And it all starts with the most mind-bending truth of them all. Everything you've ever experienced, your successes, your failures, even those coincidences you can't explain, they all began in one place, your mind. That's not a metaphor. It's the essence of the first Hermetic principle, mentalism. Hermes Trismegistus made it clear that all is mind. In other words, reality doesn't just happen to you, it begins within you. Your thoughts are not harmless. They're architects, builders of your external world. And if your inner blueprint is scattered, don't be surprised when your outer life reflects the same chaos. Think of your mind as the projector, not the screen. Most people try to change the movie by scratching at the screen, quitting jobs, changing cities, switching partners. But unless they update the reel, their thoughts, they're just replaying the same script in new costumes. That's why Hermetic insists, if you want to change your world, change your mind, not through toxic positivity or fake affirmations, but by owning the patterns you've created. The law of attraction doesn't judge, it simply mirrors. Want to test this? Start with your self-talk. Pay attention for one day. Are your thoughts empowering or sabotaging? Do you speak to yourself like a leader or a loser? This isn't fluff, it's occultism in action. A subtle, powerful transformation. Here's a practical habit. Each morning, write down one phrase that defines how you want to feel that day. Not what you want to do, but how you want to be. Confidence, clarity, joy. That tiny shift. It's mental alchemy. And here's a fun paradox. When you realize the world is mental, nothing is real. But that doesn't mean nothing matters. It means you're free. You can rewrite the narrative, redraw the map, rewire the experience. And don't worry if it feels strange at first. Most people were taught the exact opposite, that life is random, cold, and objective. But Hermes knew better. You're not just in the game, you're the one designing the board. Mentalism isn't just about manifesting wealth or love. It's also about recognizing your power to respond to life, not just react. Think of someone who's been through hella crisis, a loss, and came out wiser. That's mentalism in motion. They didn't change the event. They changed the meaning. They gave it. And meaning, my friend, is reality's software. Rewrite that, and the world updates itself to match. And if you're already seeing how this changes the way you think, just wait until you meet the next principles. Because mentalism is only the first door. Behind it, things start to vibrate, mirror, and polarize in ways you never imagined. Let's start with correspondence, the echo of Hermes Trismegistus' most famous line, as above, so below. It's not just poetic, it's precise. What happens in the micro reflects the macro. What you see in society mirrors your own inner world. Ever notice how your personal chaos tends to flare up when the world feels unstable? That's not coincidence. That's Hermeticism in real time. And once you realize the patterns repeat, you stop taking everything so personally. You begin to zoom out, and that's where your power starts. Then comes vibration. Nothing rests, not even the stillest rock. On a quantum level, everything dances, molecules, thoughts, emotions, your mood, a frequency, your beliefs, a broadcast. That's why certain people walk into a room and change the energy. That's also why your environment matters. Want to shift your reality? Change what you consume: music, people, even colors. That's occultism in everyday clothes. When Hermes spoke of vibration, he wasn't being mystical. He was describing what science would confirm centuries later. Now, polarity might be the most misunderstood principle. It says opposites are actually two ends of the same spectrum. Hot and cold, just temperature. Love and hate, same emotional energy, different direction. The trick is in transmutation, knowing how to shift from one end to the other. If you're drowning in fear, you're not broken, you're just stuck on one pole. With awareness, you can slide to the other side. That's not magic, it's law of attraction in motion, harnessed with wisdom. And don't forget rhythm. Life moves in tides, up, down, ebb flow. You can't stop the cycles, but you can learn to surf them. Lost a job? It might be winter now, but spring always returns. People who master this principle don't panic in the lows, they prepare. And when the highs come, they don't waste them, they build. Rhythm teaches patience without passivity, timing without obsession. And if you've ever wondered why your life feels like a roller coaster, now you know. Here's a practical way to work with these. Start tracking your emotional patterns. When do you feel energized? When do you crash? Do those phases match moon cycles, work schedules, or even certain people in your life? Awareness is everything, because once you see the rhythm, you can start dancing with it instead of getting dragged behind it. Another tip: polarity practice. When stuck in a negative state, don't fight it, transmute it. If you're anxious, turn that energy into action. Go clean something, write, walk. That shift is alchemy, and it's pure Hermeticism. You're not suppressing the emotion, redirecting it. That's how power moves in silence. Each of these principles is powerful alone, but together, they weave a map of existence. And as we move to the next, you'll realize why every cause creates an effect, and how nothing, absolutely nothing, ever happens by chance. Let's get one thing straight. Nothing is random. That awkward conversation, that job offer, that bad luck you keep blaming, all of it flows from causes seen or unseen. That's the sixth Hermetic principle: cause and effect. Hermes Trismegistus didn't mince words. Every effect has a cause, and every cause leads to an effect. No exceptions, no loopholes. This isn't superstition. It's the invisible web holding reality together. And the sooner you accept it, the sooner you stop playing victim and start becoming the architect of your life. This principle is where responsibility meets power. If you don't like what's showing up in your life, ask, what did I set in motion, intentionally or not? That angry outburst, maybe it started 2 days ago with a decision to skip rest. That unexpected opportunity, maybe it was born from a kind word spoken when no one was watching. This is the occultism that works in silence, subtle, precise, and always watching. You don't have to control everything. You just have to be aware. Simple example. Think of compound interest. Every tiny investment builds over time, financially and spiritually. One act of courage today becomes a ripple that returns as confidence, connection, or cash next month. It's the butterfly effect in action. That's the law of attraction, but with accountability. Want to attract better, be better. Not perfectly, just deliberately. Because even a 1% shift can trigger a 100% difference in outcome. That's how energy flows. Want a practical tip? Start each week with one small but consistent cause. Write one thank you message. Meditate for 10 minutes, or study one page from a powerful book. Over time, these seeds create forests. The universe keeps score not in punishment, but in precision. If you plant truth, you'll harvest clarity. If you plant avoidance, expect confusion. It's not karma in a mystical sense. It's mechanics, Hermeticism, stripped of superstition and dressed in wisdom. Most people live as effects. They react, they blame, they chase distractions. But the real players in this world, they live as causes. They understand that even their silence sends signals, even their absence creates impact. And that's why they move with intention, not perfect. It's a quiet power that reshapes everything. But here's the twist. Just when you think it's all linear and logical, the final principle enters the stage and reminds us that every cause contains two energies, and the magic lies in balancing them. This is where Hermetic wisdom gets bold and surprisingly modern. The seventh principle, gender, doesn't talk about biology or social roles. It's about energy. Every person, Every idea, every atom carries both masculine and feminine forces. Think structure and flow, logic and intuition, fire and water. Hermes Trismegistus revealed that creation only happens when these two merge. That's not theory, that's universal design. The mistake most people make: over-identifying with one side and neglecting the other. Masculine energy builds, organizes, asserts. Feminine energy receives, nurtures, dissolves. Neither is superior. In fact, they need each other to exist. A vision masculine without emotion feminine is sterile. Emotion without direction, chaos. Now think about your own life. Do you push constantly without rest? Or do you dream endlessly without action? Both imbalances create friction. Harmony only comes when these forces meet, not in conflict, but in sacred integration. This is why so many burnout cycles feel endless. It's not just workload, it's energetic imbalance. Hustle culture glorifies the masculine. Go, build, conquer. But without the feminine reflection, recovery, feeling, you end up chasing ghosts. This is where occultism becomes personal. It invites you to examine. When was the last time you slowed down? Not out of exhaustion, but out of reverence for your inner world. One practical way to apply this: alternate your days, or even your hours. Block time for strategy, masculine, and then for solitude or art, feminine. Watch how ideas come faster when you rest. How decisions feel clearer after journaling. That's not coincidence. That's Hermetic law of attraction rooted in energy balance. Another habit: in conversations, practice listening more feminine before offering solutions masculine. You'll build trust and power at the same time. You'll also begin to see this principle everywhere: in music, melody and rhythm, in nature, sun and moon, even in business, creativity and execution. The universe didn't pick a side. It dances between both. And your growth depends on learning that same dance. Because when you stop fighting your inner duality, you unlock a level of peace and power that most people never touch. And just when you think it ends here, you realize that these 7 principles aren't isolated ideas. They're a living system, a map for daily practice. And the real transformation, it begins when you apply them, not in theory, but in life. Let's be real. Reading about the Hermetic principles is one thing. Living them, that's where the gold is. Hermes Trismegistus never intended this wisdom to collect dust in scrolls or be locked away in temples. It was meant for daily use. Morning routines, business decisions, emotional breakdowns, all of it is a chance to apply what you've learned. Because the truth is, Hermeticism isn't a belief system. It's a lifestyle, and the people who embody it, they move differently. Quiet confidence, subtle power. No need to convince anyone, they radiate it. Balance is the key. Not perfection, balance. Mind, body, spirit, strategy and surrender. Stillness and movement. Imagine your life like a tripod. Take one leg out and the whole thing falls. You might be mentally sharp but spiritually numb, or emotionally wise but financially chaotic. True mastery is holistic. It's about integrating every layer of yourself until you're not just surviving, you're transmitting. That's when the law of attraction shifts from a buzzword to a tool you wield with precision. So what does that look like in practice? Maybe it's starting your day with silence instead of scrolling. Maybe it's checking your emotional state before entering a room. Maybe it's setting boundaries without guilt or asking hard questions without fear. These aren't big, dramatic rituals. They're micro decisions that compound over time, and they're powered by the occultism you've just decoded. One overlooked part of Hermeticism is embodiment. You don't just think differently, you carry yourself differently. People feel your energy before you speak. You become less reactive, more intentional, less needy, more magnetic. You stop chasing, and things start aligning, because your inner world is now organized around principles, not impulses. And in a chaotic world that makes you damn near unstoppable, want to go deeper? Practice one principle each day. Monday, mentalism. Journal your thoughts. Tuesday, correspondence. Look for patterns. Wednesday, vibration. Watch your tone and language. Keep rotating. Over time, these teachings don't just live in your mind, they live in your spine. You become the walking embodiment of wisdom passed down from the ancients. And here's the beauty. You don't need to convince anyone. Hermetic wisdom isn't loud. It's not about debates or conversions. It's about inner transformation so strong, your outer life adjusts without a word. You'll start to see people respond differently. Doors open, energy flows, and it won't feel like magic. It'll feel natural. Like the universe is finally responding to the real you. You've walked through ancient truths. You've touched the roots of alchemy, philosophy, and mystical science. But the journey doesn't end here. The real question is, will you live what you now know? So now the question isn't if this knowledge works, it's what you're going to do with it. You've just walked through teachings that shaped kings, alchemists, scientists, and mystics. Yet most people will click away and go back to their routines as if nothing happened. Will you? Because deep down, you already know your life reflects your understanding of these principles. Keep ignoring them, and you'll keep repeating the same cycles, but apply even one of them consistently and you'll start noticing the shifts. Small at first, then undeniable. This is not about becoming someone else. It's about remembering who you were before the noise. What principle hit you the hardest? Which one exposed a blind spot or lit a fire in you? Drop it in the comments. I read every one, and this channel is about building a tribe that gets it. We're not chasing trends, we're chasing truth. And if you haven't subscribed yet, now is the time. Hit the button, turn on notifications, and don't miss what's coming next, because this was just the beginning. The journey of awakening is long, but you were never meant to walk it alone.